When Jeep first brought back the iconic Grand Wagoneer nameplate to the States nearly 5 years ago, the company positioned this model as a luxury alternative to vehicles like the Cadillac Escalade and Lincoln Navigator. Well, for 2026, we are seeing a fully revised version of the Grand Wagoneer. And in addition to new styling, there's actually a brand new powertrain, an electric model with a gas engine that functions as a range extender. So today we're actually out here at Chrysler's headquarters in Detroit, Michigan, taking a look at the new Grand Wagoneer in person. So now that we're doing so, let's go ahead and take a detailed first look. Now, before we start talking about the updated sheet metal for this 2026 Grand Wagoneer, I want to actually remind you guys what's powering this thing, because Jeep actually made some pretty critical improvements. First of all, when Jeep first launched the Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer back in 2021, they offered it with just V8 powertrains. A couple of years ago, they dropped the V8s for the Hurricane twin-turbo inline-six. Now the base engine still remains the twin-turbo Hurricane 3-liter inline-six in the standard output form. So you still have up to 420 horsepower and 468 pound-feet of torque, hooked up to an 8-speed automatic transmission with the company's full-time four-wheel drive system. Currently at launch, Jeep says they're not going to offer the high-output version, which offered up to 540 horsepower. They actually increased the power for 2025, but now sadly they're not going to offer it, and they're not going to offer the high output version, at least for now, and that's because of that model behind me here. This is actually a new version called the REEV, which stands for Range Extending Electric Vehicle. Underneath the hood of this vehicle, there's actually a cutaway over there. You're going to find the same powertrain that Ram initially showed on the Ram Charger, the Ram 1500 Rev Charger, which basically combines a 92 kilowatt-hour battery pack with a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6 that functions as a range extender. It goes out through a single-speed reduction gear transmission with four-wheel drive. Jeep basically says that powertrain combination will be good for up to 647 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque combined. That's when you combine the output of the electric motor and the gas engine. Jeep also is estimating with that 92 kilowatt-hour battery pack, it'll go about 150 miles on pure electricity. When you add in the 20-gallon fuel tank of the V6, total range should exceed 500 miles, and it should be good for a 0 to 60 time of around 5 seconds. Because remember, this model here has that plug-in hybrid battery pack, and it'll probably be the heaviest version of the Grand Wagoneer yet. Jeep also says this should be a little heavier and less aerodynamic versus the Ram Charger, which technically was renamed to the Ram Rev. So it's interesting that they're going to be introducing a plug-in hybrid, although technically it's not a plug-in hybrid, it's an electric vehicle with a range extending gas engine, and that's why Jeep calls it the REEV as opposed to a 4xe, although as of this filming, they haven't announced if it's going to be called a 4xe or a REEV just yet. But let's go ahead and close up the hood, because a lot of you are probably interested to talk about the styling changes, because they actually already showed off this vehicle around a couple months ago when they revealed the new Jeep Cherokee. And as you can see, seeing it here in person, this is the new Upland trim. It's technically an off-road oriented version. Jeep has also simplified the trim lineups, and they've also gotten rid of just the Wagoneer name. So now they're all Grand Wagoneers, and they did that because it was very confusing at first how you had two separate models. One was the luxury version, one was the more affordable version. Now all of them are called Grand Wagoneer, and they're going to start at around $65,000. You can see the front fascia incorporates a lot of the design elements we first saw from the Wagoneer S. You have this illuminated grille, of course, with the 7 slots, which has been moved upward a little bit, along with this kind of new LED light signature. The LED headlights are their new performance LEDs with a projector style for the low and high beams. There's also this T-shaped accent light down here in the lower fascia. And then, of course, this one being the Upland trim has this kind of like skid plate looking front fascia, although you actually get front or actual skid plates underneath, because this model has unique front fascia. It's designed to be the more off-road oriented version. This right here is the Summit Reserve, painted in a new ghost exterior color, which tries to be the more luxury-oriented model. This is called Blue Steel. Let me know what you guys think of the front fascia and the color changes. I really like this new Blue Steel color. It certainly gives the Wagoneer a much more upscale, but at the same time more sophisticated look to it. Now moving around to the side profile, I'm going to talk about the wheels. On the Upland trim here, you're going to have a 20-inch wheel. So this is a smaller wheel, entire package. The Summit Reserve has a 22-inch wheel. This again also comes with all-terrain tires. They're a Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tire. It also comes with their adjustable air suspension in addition to the skid plates, a unique suspension tune. Jeep says you can raise and lower the vehicle's suspension by nearly 4 inches to give you best-in-class ground clearance. And then looking at the rest of the side profile, this is a big vehicle. In fact, Jeep will still offer it as the longer L version. So now it's again Grand Wagoneer across the board and available in either standard wheelbase or the L version. Its overall length is around 215 inches long with a 123-inch long wheelbase. So this is one of the bigger vehicles in the class. And keep in mind, if you need more space, the The L is going to extend the overall length by another foot. So that's going to give you, again, near best-in-class rear seat legroom and cargo space. The black roof also looks really nice. That or the roof rails on top are unique to this Upland trim, where it basically allows you to be able to put items back there, up there, maybe like a tent, for example. And then looking at the rear, you can see the design is pretty subtly changed as opposed to the front, where it had a lot of big upgrades to it. I actually really like the way the taillights look with the third brake light integrated into the window. As you can see, badging back here is pretty minimal. What you also notice is there's actual Jeep badges on this vehicle. I forgot to mention that at the front on the hood, there's actually a Jeep badge, and Jeep says that really confused people because originally when they first brought out the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, they wanted to sell it off as like a sub-brand, a luxury sub-brand. Now Jeep says they got the message. They're making this vehicle feel more like it's in the Jeep family. So of course you're gonna find Jeep badges all over the vehicle. Now in terms of the cargo capacity, you can see this vehicle offers what Jeep says best-in-class rear cargo behind the third row for the standard wheelbase, up to 27.5 cubic feet of storage space with the third row seat up. If you fold down the third row, it expands it to around 72. I think the max is a little over 100 cubic feet. If you guys want more space, remember the L increases the third row cargo capacity to around 42 cubic feet of space. That again gives it near best-in-class cargo figures. So if you guys plan to carry up to 8 people with their stuff and tow up to 10,000 pounds, the Grand Wagoneer has been a really excellent choice for the past 5 years, and it's only going to get better with the updates that they've made for 2026. Now moving inside the interior for this 2026 Grand Wagoneer, first of all, let me get in and shut the door. The door it still has a very solid sounding thunk because remember, this vehicle is built on the same body-on-frame chassis as the Ram 1500. Now, if the outside had a lot of changes, this is where you're going to notice the interior stays pretty much the same. This model that we're sitting in here is the new Upland trim. Remember, this is the more off-road oriented model. It's technically only one notch above the base Wagoneer trim or Grand Wagoneer trim. The interior itself is a much more simplified layout because remember, when this vehicle first launched, Jeep was touting the fact that it had over 75 inches of total screens, and that's because it had a screen here, a screen there, a screen here, a screen here, and a screen here, and a screen here. This model, as you can see, only has 2 screens. Actually, you have the fully digital 12.3-inch cluster in the instrument panel, and then you also have the 12.3-inch display here on the center stack. In the upper trims, you also get another 10.3-inch screen here and a 10.3-inch screen here. This model is again a lot more simplified, and it also feels more like a Wagoneer because remember, previously the Wagoneer was designed to be like an Expedition, the Grand Wagoneer was designed to be an Escalade. Now of course the lower trims take a lot of the materials from just the old Wagoneer, but they're all called Grand Wagoneer. Now in terms of the steering wheel, you can see it's a really chunky steering wheel with a 2-spoke design, the big Grand Wagoneer badge, although I'm surprised they didn't want to put a Jeep badge here. You can see this lower trim includes soft touch injection molded plastic with some silver painted plastic trim. It's nice and padded here. The window controls are one touch for all 4, which again, the switchgear is Stellantis' newer switchgear, which feels really high quality. This upper portion of the dash is just a soft touch injection molded plastic with some faux stitching here. The upper trims will have more real leather stitching and real wood along with the passenger display. But this again continues to run off of Uconnect 5. This model that we're showing you here is again a show car. This, if you buy this car, it doesn't come with this detonator button here. This is just, I don't know what this is for, but it almost looks like an ejecto seat or it's going to make the car explode or something like that. But open this up, you can see there's a wireless phone charging pad here. Nice little metal knob here to control the 8-speed automatic along with your 4-wheel drive system, your air suspension setup, of course. And this chunky center console area is covered in leather, which is nice. You also have this kind of separate storage cubby here where it has 2 USB charging ports, an A and a C. And then you can also open this up and actually there's actually a built-in console there. Now, if you guys go for the top trims of the Grand Wagoneer, Jeep says they'll actually offer a refrigerator for those road trips where you can keep your drinks cold or keep food from spoiling, so that's a nice touch. These seats are leather covered, obviously. If you guys go for the limited trims and up, you'll actually get heated and ventilated front seats. The upper trims will include massage function. This is just the standard leather. The glove compartment you can see is actually a smaller size, to be honest, how big this car is, but it's damped and it's lined with felt. The mirror you can see here is just an auto dimming. You can get a digital camera mirror as well. And then I'm surprised to see that this model does have a panoramic sunroof, although I bet you that Jeep is still going to charge you extra for the sunroof option. But overall, the interior looks pretty much the same, which is not a bad thing. Although I was hoping that Jeep would have put their larger 14.5-inch display from the Ram 1500 into this vehicle. But the way the Ram orientates its screen is like a portrait style. So I'm guessing for now, with the current Uconnect 5 system, this is probably the max out that they can do. If you guys are an audiophile, this trim has an Alpine stereo system, but the upper trims will offer up to a 23-speaker Macintosh audio system, so keep that in mind. But this lower one still offers pretty good audio quality, especially considering what the price point should be. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. I can show you guys the second row and the third row space. Now, Jeep continues to offer this vehicle as a 7-passenger or an 8-passenger. If you guys go for the bench seat, you can get up to 8 people in here. And in terms of the legroom, you can see this is a huge amount of space. First of all, because the vehicle is so darn wide, it has like one of the largest center accesses here to get into the third row for me. And then Jeep says you have around 40 inches of legroom back here, which is pretty much among the best in the segment. Upper trims will include features like a retractable sunshade, but these seats do offer the ability to kind of slide forward and back. Obviously, you can also recline them, but if you guys look at upper trims, they actually have the option of massaging second row seats with like its own center console here, where you have heated and ventilated seats. This model is definitely a lot more, family oriented, a little bit more mainstream. You have your third zone climate control function here. You have 4 more USB charging ports, an actual power outlet, 12 volt, and then you can see fixed cup holders right there, which is great for those longer road trips. Surprisingly, I'm not seeing an armrest here. I don't know why this one's missing an armrest, but again, the upper trims will have a big fixed console here with additional storage, so kind of keep that in mind. But this is one of the reasons why the Grand Wagoneer has sold so well, is it offers near best-in-class second row space. Now, in terms of the third row, I actually want to show you guys what that's like. If you push that, you can see this third row obviously can fit 3 people across, but once you get back here, the legroom space, I believe Jeep said this model had around 36 inches of legroom in the third row, which is huge. I mean, you can literally fit full-size adults back here. At 5'7", I could comfortably sit back here on a longer trip, and there's also features back here that you didn't expect to find. First of all, the third row has a power recline function, which is an unexpected touch on this trim. You also have rear seat air vents, USB charging ports. You can get heated seats back here, although this trim doesn't have it. And you can see there's also a glass sunroof area. This doesn't actually open up to vent air, but it does have a retractable shade, so this is nice to let in more light. It's got this massive window here, so if you guys sit back here, you're not going to get car sick quite as easily because it actually has good visibility all around. And because this car is so wide, you can actually sit 3 people across here. So this is one of the reasons why you would choose this over a Grand Cherokee, because the Grand Cherokee's third row is not this adult friendly, and it also doesn't sit 3 people across. So this is one of the reasons why, again, a lot of people really like this vehicle, because you can seat up to 8 people and tow up to 10,000 pounds. Now, while Jeep was pretty late to the full-size 3-row luxury SUV class with the Grand Wagoneer, the company has actually shown some pretty strong sales growth, because last year, Jeep managed to sell a little over 43,000 units. Now, unfortunately, I don't know whether the take rate was between the Wagoneer or the Grand Wagoneer, but it was their best sales year ever. So with all the changes they've made, especially for those of you who are looking for an electric version with a range extender of a gas engine like the Summit Reserve that I have here, it should be an interesting addition, because if you guys are looking to get your hands on the new Grand Wagoneer, Jeep says that they should be available to order pretty soon, and the straight 6 turbo, the standard output engine, will be going on sale toward the end of this year. If you want to get your hands on that model though, the plug-in hybrid or the electric model, the REEV, that one will actually be early 2026. Now, Jeep wasn't ready to talk about pricing just yet, final pricing, but remember, the old Wagoneer, the lower trim versions of the Wagoneer started at just under $60,000. The Grand Wagoneer used to start at around $85,000. Jeep says now that they've simplified the trims, the base Grand Wagoneer, which that trim is just called the Grand Wagoneer, starts at around $65,000, including the likely $2,000 destination charge. So they've increased it by about $5 grand, which I'd have to compare what the equipment levels were on the old Wagoneer to kind of see what extras they've included for that extra $5 grand. But at the top end, I would expect something like this model here to probably be well over $110,000. Now, keep in mind, its pricing is pretty much well in line with most of its rivals, although only time will tell whether consumers are going to end up choosing the electrified or the electric model with the range extending gas engine or just the standard output version. I'm also hoping that Jeep will eventually bring back the high output straight 6, because that model with 540 horsepower offered acceleration that was pretty similar to the Cadillac Escalade V. This model, however, they're claiming will hit 60 in around 5 seconds, but I'll just be curious to see what the performance is like, and we should be driving both of these vehicles at some point, probably toward the end of this year or early next year. But let me know in the comment section below if you guys would just go for the standard straight 6 or if you'd go for that new REEV trim level. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this brand new 2026 Jeep Grand Wagoneer. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.